Well, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, it's been an incredibly busy last few minutes or so with that breaking news that Tottenham are in talks to bring Mauricio Pochettino back to the club. Kave Solokol has joined me on set. So how have we got to this point? Because it wasn't so long ago that he was dismissed by Daniel Levy and Jose Mourinho came in to replace him.
Look, we can confirm that Spurs are in talks with Mauricio Pochettino about him coming back to the club. This is a sensational story that was first reported by Charlie Wyatt in the Sun newspaper, I think a couple of days ago. And it is absolutely true. Charlie was 100% right. Spurs are in talks. Mauricio Pochettino obviously was sacked by Spurs 18 months ago by Daniel Levy. I think Daniel Levy now accepts that that was a mistake. Since January, Pochettino has been the head coach at PSG, where he also used to be a player, but I don't think he's totally settled in Paris. And I think he would be open to the option of returning to Spurs. He's got 1 year left on his PSG contract. He did win the French Cup with PSG a couple of weeks ago, but they missed out on winning the French title. If you're the PSG manager, you're really expected to win the title every season. And they were also knocked out of the Champions League by Manchester City, of course. So this is an appointment that would be very, very popular with Spurs fans. Every Spurs fan I know wants Mauricio Pochettino back. There's a real connection between him and the club. He understands Spurs. Spurs supporters treat him as if he's one of their own. Obviously, when he was at the club, he managed in very difficult circumstances. He didn't have the kind of transfer budgets that his rivals had. Spurs weren't paying the kind of wages that his rivals had. They were moving stadium, building a new stadium. Through all that, he kept everything ticking over. He made sure that Spurs seemed to always be qualifying for the Champions League. They got to that Champions League final against Liverpool 2 years ago, which was an incredible occasion in Madrid, even though they lost. And I just sense that Daniel Levy would like him back, and Mauricio Pochettino would like to come back to London to manage Spurs again. But obviously, it is going to be very difficult because he has a contract in Paris with PSG, and Spurs are also considering other candidates for the job. But I think Spurs now want to get this sorted out. The sort of noises coming out of the club are that they want to appoint a manager probably within the next sort of 10 days. And Mauricio Pochettino is definitely one of the leading candidates. One source I've spoken to this morning actually said that he felt that the deal was basically done, and that Mauricio Pochettino would be returning to Spurs. Wow. But that is just from one source. Okay. That is not something that we can report definitively. Yeah. But as I said, brilliant story from Charlie Wyatt in The Sun, and it is 100% true. Spurs are in talks to get Mauricio Pochettino back.
As I said, I mean, it's just an extraordinary turnaround, isn't it? I mean, forget Pog back when Manchester United re-signed Paul Pogba. This would be Poch back for Tottenham getting Mauricio Pochettino back in that home dugout. But here's the thing. You mentioned the situation with Pochettino when he was in charge of Spurs first time round and not having necessarily the resource of the very, very, very rich clubs in the Premier League. But perhaps if he were to return, his priority wouldn't be necessarily signing someone, but it would be keeping someone at the club. And that someone is Harry Kane. How do you think he would be reacting to this breaking news that we're bringing our audience, our viewers this morning?
I think Harry Kane would love to work with Mauricio Pochettino again. There was a really, really strong, deep connection and bond between the two men. Is it enough to keep Harry Kane at Spurs? I don't know. Harry Kane has made it clear that he would like to leave Spurs, but Spurs are in a very, very strong position as far as Kane is concerned, because he still has 3 years left on his contract. So if Spurs don't want to sell him, then he cannot leave. And I think if Mauricio Pochettino was to come back, then it would make it more likely that he would stay. One final point I would make is, if Pochettino was to come back, it would basically be Daniel Levy holding his hands up and saying, I made a big mistake, but I'm big enough to admit I've made a mistake, and to get Mauricio Pochettino
and showing a bit
back.
of contrition, I suppose.
Show a bit of contrition. And also, you have to say it would help Daniel Levy, because at the moment, a lot of Spurs fans are very, very unhappy about what happened with the club, what's happened under Jose Mourinho, what happened with the European Super League. I think it would take the pressure off Daniel Levy as well if Pochettino was to come back.
Yeah, it could be a smart move all round. All right, thank you very much indeed, Kave.